Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Bye.
The challenge is
Okie doke.
drivers will change.
Right now the mic is hot. If you can
Okay.
put it up near your lapel.
Hell, okay.
And then this can just go in your pocket or on your belt, whichever you prefer. And if you want me to mute it, that's mute so that it's, so you don't have a GW incident.
Oh, okay.
And then turn it on, it's hot. You can tell it's hot by you can see how that line moves up. Okay.
Great.
So I'm going to mute it for now.
Okay.
You just turn that off when you're ready to rock.
Okay.
Okay.
Turn it on or?
I mean, turn it on.
Oh,
Turn
it's
muting
muted
off.
right now. Yeah, I just turn
okay.
it.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Then this portion of what the word. Any respect is on the future. A little bit about professionalism. The questions.
Okay.
I just noticed.
Yeah, maybe we have some kind of a data or discussion for probably the examples about would be much better. So for example, you have say, you say this one, right? This projection, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, and you just give some kind of example.
Yeah, I'm going to be using examples throughout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
great.
just not going to just say, okay, this and that. No, I'll be talking using examples throughout.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, not a problem.
Okay. Okay. It's about time to start, and then today we invite the career conference of our college to give a talk about the 3 Ps for professional and just trying to. I think he's holding this the secret of what is 3P means, and so that he can have some kind of a curiosity to follow the whole implementation. So now let's begin with kind of a talk more.
So you mic that here real quick.
Hey, first off, let me say good morning. I said my name is Otis Scott, but I go by Scotty, and I'm your career counselor for the College of Engineering. And thank you for being here. And what we're going to be talking about today is the 3 Ps. Anybody have an idea what that is or might be? No, but you're going to find out. All right, great. Well, let me go ahead and get started here. Okay. First off, let me start with a couple of questions here, and then I'll actually go into the 3 Ps. How many of you feel like you know what the future holds for you? Anybody have an idea? You know, what are you going to be doing? Yes. What do you think the future holds for you? What do you see? Do you think the job opportunities, and I'll kind of preface this with a couple of things. Do you think the job opportunities are going to be good, not so good? What are you gonna, as a mechanical engineer? What things you might be working on? What do you think's gonna be happening?
Some of us already have jobs.
Yeah.
Okay.
These guys already have jobs.
Okay. So, and I'm not talking about the present. I realize that some of you have jobs in here. I'm talking about the future. Where do you see yourself in the future? Remarkable degree. And now I ask you why.
Why is it a good profession?
Yeah.
Because we solve problems.
You solve problems.
We solve problems that are out there.
Okay. But what does that say for the future? Are you going to be solving problems in the future?
Yeah.
How are you going to be working? You're going to be working as a team, or are you going to be working separately, or how are you going to be working? Have you ever thought about that? Probably not, right? That's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. Really, what is it going to look like? What is your job, whether you're currently working or you're going to be going into, what is that going to be looking like? Those are all things that we need to really think through. Start thinking 5 years out, 10 years out. The society, I'm going to use a lot of their information. This is the American Society for Mechanical Engineers did a study, and they went out to 2028 and looked to see what is the future going to look like for mechanical engineers. And we'll be looking at a lot of that information. Okay? So now the big question is, and I'm getting this feedback that you may not be, are you prepared for the future? Those of you in stable jobs right now, you prepared? You ready? Okay. What about those of you that are not working right now? Are you prepared? You ready? Okay. All right, we'll find out. Okay. So when we start talking about what the 3 Ps are, what we're talking about really is projection. What does the future really hold for you? We're going to take a look at that. Then we're going to take a look at preparation. How do you go about preparing for that future that you're going to have? And then finally, professionalism. How many of you have heard that word before? And have you used it in your profession? Okay. So let's start off with talking a little bit about developing sustainability. And what I want to do is kind of share some information from the report that ASME did. And one of the things they kind of talked about is that developing sustainability, that we're going to have a rapidly developing economy, and it's going to be adding to the global environmental pressures and competitive for such things as energy, water, power, and other high-demand resources. Mechanical engineers will be challenged to develop new techniques that support economic growth and promote sustainability. Are we not already seeing that? Think about that for a minute. You know, if you went back 10, 15 years, how many of you would be sitting here thinking that, gee, you know, as far as like power and things on that line, you know, we'd be able to be doing that by the sun, the wind? Would that even come into play? Or were some of you even around that? Think about it for a minute. Would that have even, you know, been one of those things where you'd have been saying, gee, you know, we're going to be looking at power in San Antonio. A large part of our power is going to be coming from solar. Or if you were in Las Vegas, from hydro. So, you know, those are things we need to think about. How are we going to do that? And then based upon our global concept right now of continued growth and using the resources that we have, how are we going to go about sustaining what we currently have? And then when we start talking about, you know, engineering large and small, you know, we're talking about from both a knowledge and a coordination of multi-disciplines and multi-scale engineering across greater distances and time frames. In addition, a new field of system engineering will incorporate much of the knowledge and practices of mechanical engineering from the standpoint of not only will you be dealing with larger projects, but what about nano projects, the much smaller projects, where, you know, chips and things of this nature will be, you know, so small we'll be able to do things, say, in homes and things of this nature that we never even envisioned being able to do before. So will you be prepared for that? And then when we take a look at we start talking about our competitive edge in knowledge, you know, one of the things we need to really consider is probably, I'd say, 20% or better of mechanical engineering has been outsourced for people who can do it cheaper. So how are we going to maintain that competitive edge? Beg your pardon?
Can you say that again? Repeat.
No. How are we?
No, that statistic you just gave.
20 to 30% of mechanical engineering has been outsourced to other countries. I'm talking about from the U.S. that we normally would do here, where it can be done cheaper. So how do we maintain that competitive edge and make sure that we're able to do it here? You said you were problem solvers. How do we go about doing that? What about innovation? Coming up with new ideas. Being able to develop those things that other countries may not be able to develop.
Why are we outsourcing engineers from investing to another countries? That's because we don't have factories to.
No, because it can be done cheaper. Think about, you know, one of the things you have to realize, and let me ask some of the people over here who are in the market right now. What are companies looking at as far as when you're out there solving problems and things like that? Are they not thinking about the bottom line? What it costs? Is cost not a factor? Let me put it another way. Do you have unlimited funds to do what you need to do?
Cost schedule performance.
Right. And if it can't be done cheaper and better here, then guess what? Companies are going to find ways to do that. And if that means outsourcing it, then so be it. But I hope that doesn't happen. I'm hoping we regain that competitive edge that we had a while back. Just some food for thought. So one of the things that we're also gonna see is the, being a dominant player in the industries, going forward, working more collaboratively together. The 21st century will be defined not by conflict, but by the integration of competitive markets with new methods of collaboration. So, we're going to be doing things, differently. And I'm probably going to jump ahead here a little bit. But when I start talking about how you do your work, can somebody give me an example of how you do your work currently at your current job? Anybody who's working in here?
Project-based work. You write a proposal for work.
Okay. Okay. So do you work with other individuals?
Depends on what the project was and what the proposal said.
Okay. All right. Then based on that, is your team normally static or more diverse or developing different teams at times,
It
depending
can
upon?
be diverse because you have different people inputting their part
Mm-hmm.
in the project.
Okay. The point I was leading to there is that you're going to be working with teams where it's going to require more on your part to be able to communicate, lead teams, and work with many different people. Because we're in a much more global environment now.
So I think maybe, can I just
Mhm.
ask a question?
Yes, please.
So from the people who have the students, we have experience in the work right now. So do you think right now it's possible to have a one-man show to solve a problem right now?
It depends on the problem, but I think your point is that we're heading towards a system engineering for everything approach. We do research, so yeah, I can independently do my research and be successful without any other interaction. But that's specific to the specific what I do. If you go to teams acquisition, for example, it's all systems engineering approaches. If that's what you're talking about, where you have less of the individuals doing the engineering, but the engineering approach is one person, the manager putting everything together, who actually does little to no engineering.
Yeah.
How about Laura and Kyle?
I think it's the same.
Yeah, I think it's these guys, these two are
Mhm.
working at the South Research, and he's working Department of Defense,
Okay.
the research lab. So these
Okay.
all are in the research field.
Okay.
So and then
I work
probably
for acquisition though. I'm a researcher in an acquisition organization. So the acquisition process is all systems level engineering.
Mm-hmm.
But the frustrating part of it is it's not engineering, it's systems, it's management, approach. Like, that's a business degree.
Mm-hmm.
What that person needs to do is put all the engineers together and do it right. But they don't actually do any engineering. So what you're actually talking about is not, you need to have an engineer, you should have an engineering background, but you don't necessarily, those people don't. They're managers who are able to put things together, but they don't do engineering.
Okay.
But even requests for research proposals, it seems like almost all of them say that preference will be granted for like interdisciplinary teams. And I'm not sure if they actually make that versus the buzzword that like just put in there, but it's in like all.
Well, what?
Depends what kind of project you're working on. I mean, going back to your question, can it be a one-man show? It could be if you just need to do your little part and then send that back up the line. I mean, there's cases where you don't necessarily interact with others because your specialty is or your research is specialized that you're the go-to person for that little part.
Yeah,
But eventually it gets,
yeah, so I think it's
Integrated.
for the whole project. Is they have a one-man show for the whole project.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it depends on your perspective of the project. To me, it's a one-man show. To the guy
Yeah, that's a
up
good
there,
point. No.
who's not the engineer. Hold on, the point is that's not the engineer up there. That's not what we are. Have been. Most of us are PhDs in here because we like doing the work. I mean, I'm not saying that we're not going to end up eventually being some kind of system development manager, but right now, most of us probably aren't interested in that because we could have done that with a bachelor's or a master's. It's just specific training in. You go to the business side of things after that, then you become that kind of engineer. But for us, most of being PhDs, we're interested in the guts and the details of the work, and that cannot easily be the one-man show.
I don't know if James agree with or
It depends on the project. Though. Like Laura said, it depends on how it is. My projects are one-man shows. I can do that. I write my own proposal. I get the money. I deliver, and that's the success of it. It all depends on. But,
Okay. And I think it depends upon, and you bring up a good point there. It depends upon, where you are. And granted, if you're a company entity out there, then, you're looking at it from a much broader perspective and you're saying, gee, I need to have really great, innovative, new ideas in order to really bring my company to the forefront. And yes, I may have people working on individual projects in here, but what's going to take me to that next level? And that's what we have to be thinking about.
so they need a business major. They can innovate their business.
No, not just a business major.
I don't agree with this
Yeah.
because right now, if you solve this kind of energy problems, and then, for example, the fracking issue.
Well, you're doing a bottom-up approach. You're saying you're attacking a specific problem and then applying it to some business.
No, not business. So engineering is solving problem, and that problem is actually coming from the business. It's not coming from nowhere, right?
I mean, ultimately, who are you solving the problem for?
Yeah.
The customer.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's
The
why I was
customer
into
can
the
change.
consumer.
It depends. You're talking about the business is going to drive it. Okay, well, it goes back to the point you said. Did you see energy being what it is? Well, who knew that they were going to set up a business case for energy to drive? Energy was always there, but there was no business case, right? That's the point you're making. The business is driving. Business is driving the technology then, instead of the innovators who know how to do it and can aren't doing it because of the business. Right? Well,
Yeah,
what was
most
the point
of
you're
cases.
making?
Yeah, I think it's probably
Energy subsidies.
Yeah, exactly. That's what drove it. Exactly. That's what drove that. But yeah, we could have done it, but there was no business. So although we could have done it, we weren't because the
okay.
business
So
there was
maybe
no money to be made by.
just put in a global case. It's probably in this particular substance. This is not a business because the government can put money in there, but it's not necessarily put. Question here is that why they put money in there.
Ultimately, when it comes down to it, the consumer is driving it, and business is trying to give it to them cheaper than or better than they previously had it. And ultimately, you as engineers are the problem solvers to help do that. But then the bigger picture is, and when you come into that is, okay, you solve that problem, but then how do you get it to the customer? How do you market it to the customer? And ultimately, how is it going to make their life, better? And is it something that can be sustained? So when we talk about that, we really have to look at, a lot of different things. And, and one of those is regulating global innovation, fundamentally restructuring of the regulations and protections of intellectual capital on a global basis is going to be, unlikely because there's more complex technology required greater collaboration and sharing of patents. Incremental changes will occur to produce equitable and beneficial results for the innovation and those that adopt and commercialize innovations. So, we really have to think about it in a much larger picture. Now, when we talk about the diverse face of engineering, we're looking at prospective employers will seek and promote people with unique and varied backgrounds to maximize their potential for success in diverse cultures and situations. So let's say, for instance, I have a team and I have a problem, whatever, and I'll just for grins now, not real. Let's use Syria. What if I have to find out, like they'd have to send a team over there to find out whether or not they actually use poisonous gases? So what do I want that team to be made up of? Is it just engineers? Or do I need somebody that can speak the language? Or do I need somebody that can conduct an analysis of the chemicals? I need a pretty diverse team, and I need a pretty gung-ho team that can get it done in a relatively short amount of time. And I'm talking real world. Why? Because that's what I used to do. So being able to go in and find out those things, I need people that surround me that are able to deal with the different situations and problems that occur, no matter what they are. And then you're going to have the combining of nanotechnology and the biofuture. So you're going to be dealing with many different elements there, from making things smaller to, how many of you have heard of that concept of synergy before? The combining of man and machine. That's very real. I think they were saying 2038, somewhere right around there. That's probably going to be very, very real at the rate that we're progressing as far as technology and all. And then there's, of course, designing at home. Making those things better and bringing the quality of life up, especially in countries where it may not be at that level yet. What I want to do is I want to show you a short video in reference to, it's only about 4 or 5 minutes long, in reference to engineering the future. What is the future of engineering?
When I look 5 to 10 years out and think about what are the exciting areas when it comes to engineering, I'm always astounded by what we're going to be able to do. If you want to work in biology, if you want to work in aeronautics, if you want to work in space, every aspect of all of these industries in the future are going to need engineers.
We have gone through a period of ignorance as to the impact of humanity on nature and the impact of nature on humanity. And as we get to a period of technological enlightenment, it's exciting to think about the roles that engineers will be playing in solving problems that we're going to have, like dealing with trash through innovative recycling methods, making products that are much more optimal in their use of resources.
I think the world is getting smaller. More people have passports now, people travel. You kind of see people of different sizes, different shapes, different abilities. The world is really, really changing. You try to figure out who are these people, what culture they live in, what lifestyle they live in, and how can you make their life better.
One of the things that I'm most excited about is, as we approach the year 2020, the size of meaningful computational power, so the size of the chip that we put in devices, approaches zero. So what that means is we can put a chip into anything. We can make everything smart. We can make this chair smart. We could make my jacket into a computer. We will be surrounded by computational intelligence.
As consumer electronics become more a part of being us, the standard that these things have to be designed for has to be much, much higher. And I think that's a really interesting place where you're going to see a lot of innovation. Is it how I want to express myself? Is it something that I actually want to live with? And that's where I think the voice of women coming in is going to be really important to be heard.
If you
you want to change people's lives, biomedical engineering is the best place to do that, because we can create the engineered devices that adjust the functionality of somebody's body in a way that addresses some malfunction of natural processes, and that means that you will be directly affecting the life of an individual.
You're going to have the capability and have the tools to work in areas like architecture. And the tools that we're creating for that completely change how we conceptualize the world and conceptualize buildings and conceptualize bridges. And then one of the things that you could work in, that why you wouldn't work in this, I have no idea, is robotics. There's going to be these incredible advances in robotics, not only industrial robots, but medical robots and personal robots.
Engineers don't need to have the large infrastructure around them to be able to make big change in the world. They need a good team of friends, they need a little bit of money, and they need great ideas. Now we're at a point where you can go from something in your imagination to something that's in the marketplace in a short time span without having to spend a lot of money. I can look up online in a catalog and find all the parts I need in an hour. I can 3D print things that I don't have. That, I think, is incredibly transformational.
There is this link between entrepreneurship and engineering, which is, I think, is definitely getting stronger. If you have a great idea, you've got skills, you can build something, you can go out there and just start your own company.
What gets me excited about tomorrow and 10 years from now is I see the impact of engineers being very direct, creating better conditions for living, to create better harmony between humans and the nature that sustains our lives.
And that's where the opportunity is for this new crop of engineers. How can I make the world better for everyone else? How do we take that status quo and make it reflect what the world is becoming today?
There are so many jobs today that we didn't have 10 years ago. And there's going to be even more jobs 10 years from now that nobody could even dream of. And that's what this engineering education will give you, is that ability to follow your passions. I think the future is going to be awesome because we're going to build it.
So what did you think about that?
Looks like it sounds good.
Like what?
It's like you're selling engineering to a bunch of engineering.
That's one way to view it.
I mean,
I respect your opinion there.
It's true. I mean, there's no any lies.
I think there was. You're talking about. It reminded me of something. It's a push and pull technology. You pull technology with the need, and you push it with the capability and finding it.
Mm-hmm.
There's just two different approaches. To me, it feels like you're flip-flopping on a point. Like you're trying to make a point, but you're going between both without identifying it. But there really is, there's a business part to it, and you tried to make an example with the solar power. There's a business part to it. Solar power, there was always a need, it just depends on what the need was. It got driven by the cost need. It was ignoring the green need. That's what it's called. But you're looking at these companies over here, they're just trying to innovate. They're not really, there's no really necessary need. They're just trying to make things better. But there's not necessarily, I don't need a smart code. If you talk about innovation, when we do innovation, for small companies, we usually give them a need and tell them you can do anything they want to come up with and let them innovate. That's innovation. If Henry Ford had asked people what they needed, they would have said bigger horses, a better wagon and stuff. They would have never said I needed an automobile. He asked them what they needed, and they said they needed to get from one place faster, quicker. They needed it to powder field and stuff like that. But I've kind of lost in what that's saying, other than, we already all know that engineering is awesome.
And I'm not here to tell you that it's not. What I'm here to do is try and open your eyes up to what the future is going to look like for engineers. You know, and make you aware of opportunities and be sure whether or not, you know, you're prepared for it. Because those of you that are already in the workplace, you know, there are opportunities there. But what if someone comes along and they say, gee, you know, based on what you've been doing, well, we no longer need you. What are you going to do? That's what I want to try and open your eyes up to.
Well, then I think the point is everything's going to systems level, and yes, engineers are good for that, but that's not necessarily what we all are doing right now, as far as our research is concerned.
Right.
That type of stuff. I mean, there's a need for it, and I do realize that in my organization, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
They push you towards systems, and yes, it's better that engineers do it than some business majors, of course. But I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I would not pursue a PhD like most of us are if that's the direction that I want to go in, because you don't need PhDs to do that. You need system level engineers.
Okay. You know, I'd like to hear opinions from some others also, because I mean, you've been very good in providing input. But I'd also like to hear from some of the others. Okay. So a couple things are going to be happening here. First off, we're going to have the outlook now is the rapid emergence of new technology, which we all know is one of those things that's a given. The blurring of boundaries in technical disciplines. Well, guess what? That's where, you know, it gets back to that pipeline mentality of, okay, I'm this, and I'm this, and we're not communicating across those lines. So, you know, we want to make sure you're going to see that starting to really blur. And then globalization as a principal driving force for change accompanied by increasing global competition. That's already there. I mean, it's happening. I mean, look what happened with the U.S. I mean, to be honest, probably China owns more buildings in the U.S. than we do in some respects. The convergence of biology and engineering, and you saw that right in the short YouTube video there. And then new students coming in, their interests are going to go beyond just engineering, traditional engineering as we know it now. They're going to be driving new changes. And that's something that we have to be ready for. So my question to you is, as I stated earlier, are you prepared for the future? That's where preparation comes in. Because if you're not preparing now, then I can tell you it's going to be much tougher for you to make that transition later on. Now, there's a value proposition in that. Remember when I talked about earlier about that 20 to 30% there? There's the data for you. And this is not something that Scotty said. This is something that the American Society for Mechanical Engineers, this is based on a study that they did. The grander challenge that you're going to face is either the engineering profession will broaden greatly, or the society will suffer because the match between society and technology will be too haphazard. A greater engineering needs to evolve. It will come to embrace much more of the issues at the technology-society interface. And some of you are sitting there saying, but Scotty, I'm happy right where I am. Well, if you're not opening your mind to other things, guess what? You're not going to be. So here are a couple of things that you're going to see as real needs, especially as we talk about that last bullet on about 1-2 slides back. What's coming in? There's going to be a real need for leadership. You know, we're going to need people out there that can lead in this field. There's going to be a global competition for engineering graduates, which you just saw. There's going to be the blurring of disciplinary boundaries. There's going to be a need to increase the attractiveness of the mechanical engineering profession. There's going to be increased professional expectation of the industry. There's going to be the changing characteristics of those incoming students. There's going to be increased complexity of engineering systems, advancing communication and computing, and new technology.
I'm sorry, why do we need to increase the attractiveness of the mechanical engineering profession? It seems to me what you're saying is that we're being undercut in terms of, we're being undercut price-wise from engineers abroad, and that the need is for, to some extent, better engineers, but is there a significant need for more mechanical engineers as a profession? I mean, as someone who's going to be entering the workforce in hopefully just a couple of years, I actually don't see why it wouldn't be more in my advantage to burn all the engineering schools to the ground. I mean, they're just producing more people who are going to undercut me. You know, the last thing I need to do is encourage, like if you want to increase the job prospects for the engineers who are there, you do like the medical schools and you restrict and restrict and restrict and take only the very best. Even if more people meet the qualifications, you turn them away so you don't drive down the price of your
program.
And the valuable nature of the degree. So, and frankly, I've always got the impression, maybe very biased, that mechanical engineering was a pretty attractive profession to begin with. So I'm wondering where the need to increase that comes from.
Okay. Engineering overall is one of the more attractive professions to be in. And I'm speaking on overall. What I'd like you to do is do a little bit of research. Go into ONET, ONET.com, and just type in mechanical engineer. And when you pull it up, I want you to go down and see what the projections are for mechanical engineers between now and 2020. It will actually show you what, based on percentile, that need, and take a look at some of the other engineering disciplines also and see what that need is.
So we just need to take over the other engineers, not each other. You know,
Yeah, because you know what,
That's what he's saying.
you know what,
Civils are easy. We'll take those out first. We'll have a harder time with the arrows.
And you know what, it's funny you mentioned civil engineers first, because I hate to tell you this, but they're kind of at the top of the pie chart right now as far as the need for the future.
You know where I work in aerospace structures, I'm mostly civil engineers.
Yeah, that's civil.
Yeah.
So I look at the faculty pay in terms of this. In recent years, mechanical engineer pay is kind of going down. So I don't know why. So.
Oh, so the faculty want to increase.
Not only the faculty, I think is if you look at the overall for the industry, is also. So I think it's really the market is kind of a business driven. It's not a professional.
That's because we have so many mechanical engineers available that it drives down the price. Like I said, the medical schools only admit so many med students, and they do this deliberately because if they admitted everyone who qualified, then doctors
I think this
couldn't
is
pay off their
the problem is
student loans.
outsourcing.
You know, I hate to say this, but you make well, no, I don't hate to say it, that you're making some very valid points from that perspective that, okay, we need to restrict the numbers in some shape, form, or fashion, only because, like I said, it drives down the quality. I mean, doctor's a good example. Would you want a doctor working on you that, wow, they just would, they went through a paper mill college and got their degree and all? I doubt it. So would I want an engineer designing or developing something for me that went through a paper mill college? No. What I want is the best, the brightest, and the most innovative.
That gets back to if he's restricting it, then he's taking the value of the ones that are in the market.
Even more valuable.
Five times the value of the foreign ones, which is what you said they needed.
The problem is going to be with, I mean, that's out of anybody's control, just that whole bullet. ME can be split up through other professions. You have aero guys can do all fluid stuff, civils can do all the structure stuff. The nuclear people, there's nuclear materials can do the material stuff. You can invite everything to other people. So essentially you get to the point saying if you're going to get highly specialized in a particular subject, you just go to that profession. You want to do materials, go to materials. You want to do structures, go to civil. You can actually almost eliminate. I'm not promoting this, but I'm saying that bullet is almost a moot point because you can't do it. You can't increase the attractiveness, not while you have other, it's such a broad, generalistic degree. It can be, but.
And it's really left up to you to determine what that field is going to look like. Because are you not the future? I would hope so. So let's talk a little bit about what they're talking about as far as, you know, what's driving a lot of this and, you know, where education is headed and how you're going to be prepared. You know, the bachelor's degree now is just the foundation of the STEM for coming into the engineering field. You know, it's kind of like, you know, I hate to, you know, take this example for what it's worth, but in order to even get into or get a decent job, if you went back, say, you know, 10 or 15 years, a high school diploma was good enough. You know, but now, you know, you need to have a college degree. And the same thing, you know, is happening here. You know, it's being bumped up, you know, to now they're saying, okay, even to be, you know, as an intro to the profession, you need a master's degree. And then, you know, those of you that are going for your PhD, you know, more emphasis on breadth as well as depth. So not only this way, but also this way. So you can't stay specialized. You know, you have to be willing to expand out and go deeper. The projected job outlook for you, it's above average only because of the employment growth rate will likely be above average. You know, as things continue, you know, the world population continue to expand, problems are out there that need to be solved. You know, it's going to require, you know, more engineers. Retired workers should contribute to the job openings.
These whole professional things in schools.
Oh yeah, you go from industry to
Whatever.
okay, all right. But yet and still, you know, people will be moving out of the marketplace and maybe in academia or something along that line. So there will be more opportunities. Because when you think about it, 50% of baby boomers are, you know, looking to retire. Granted, some are staying in the workplace longer, but most are, you know, have already hit that 63 and they're retiring in numbers. But the only bad part is the number of job seekers would like to exceed the number of job openings. So, and obviously some of you have done this, you know, you're going to have to take it to a new level in order to meet those requirements for the jobs. And as you're looking for jobs, for those of you that may not already have jobs, and those that do have jobs, have you even thought about that what if? I get right size, terminated, furloughed. What happens then? How do you go about marketing yourself to that next employer? Do you have a good resume? Do you know how to market yourself? Do you know how to look for or network in order to find out where that next opportunity may come from? You know, those are things you should always be thinking about. You know, I make it a point, you know, regardless, I know I can find a job based on my skill sets. However, I make it a point to always keep me a couple of things in my hip pocket, my resume and my letter of resignation. So, you know, you start thinking about those things. Start thinking about those things now. You know, where are you going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? So what are you worth? Well, that tells you right there that based upon your occupation, you're worth much more than the average person out on the street there. Which should make you feel good. It also shows you as you start to move up the ladder, you're going to be worth even more. And most of you, by the time you start to reach that senior level, I can tell you right off, you're going to be in the 3 digits, if not more. And if you decide to open your own company, you're probably going to be that person who adds several more digits onto that. Okay. The American Society for Mechanical Engineering took this perspective right here. Respondents believe communication skills such as business writing, technical writing, public speaking, and presentation preparation will be even more critical as engineers work in and among varied groups. You need to start developing those skills now. Because when it comes to professionalism, I would encourage you to chronicleize your work history and your career progression, and keep it documented someplace, so that you're able to demonstrate that or show it to someone. Know what those functional skill sets are that you have, because when you're talking to human resource people, you're talking about the knowledge, skills, and abilities that you have to perform that job. And they're looking to match you to that job opening. And I can tell you from personal experience that any career opportunity that becomes available, you have anywhere from, even in this engineering profession, 200 to 300 people putting in for that position. So how do I find that right person? Is it you? Is it you? Or is it you? So you need to be able to market yourself in the right way. And think about what else you bring to the table. What other abilities do you have that may be that key to what they're looking for? Because normally employers will say, this is what's required, this is what's preferred. The preferred, you don't necessarily have to have it to get the job, but the required, you do. So really think about that. So let me give you some time for some questions here. And this is my own saying right here. Always be inquisitive. You may not find the answer you expect or want, but you will be that much closer to the truth. So don't be afraid to ask those questions that may be going around in your mind. Try to save a little bit of time for that. So anything.
Is there any difficulty, like, if you get a PhD and you're applying to a job that maybe doesn't require a PhD?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of bit limited. They say, well, I don't know.
It really depends. It really depends upon the field. Sometimes, yeah, I've heard this. It should not be something that's practiced in the community. Now, I've heard some people say, well, gee, they see that PhD and they say, well, we can't afford to pay you what you're really worth.
My salary was a whole lot.
What's that?
Depends on what your last salary was.
Yeah, good.
They're not going to let you go down. But
Well, I don't know. I mean,
before, then you still be cheap.
it really depends.
Yeah, because I had a friend, and he is a professional, is a double E, and he worked in the company, and then this is kind of related to DoD, and then the project was cut, and he was paid really good, and then he had in the position that he had to find a job, so they have to lower the requirement. So you cannot say, oh, I make it 200K before. Then they say, okay, this job is only 100. Are you take it or not?
I think Thomas is saying that because they all say, well, we're thinking of making you an offer, but they look and they say, well, he's never going to accept $100,000 because he was getting $200,000. He's got a PhD. He'll go somewhere else. Or if we give him
And really, the way they look at it is not necessarily that you'll go someplace else. It's just that you won't stay in that job.
They'll be reluctant to offer you that position.
Yeah.
Seeing that it won't allow you to take that much work for that exact reason. How long are you going to be around? You just can hold off until you find something else.
And that's where, communicate and let them know. And there are other things, that you can negotiate in there that may be more valuable than money for you. Maybe it's being able to spend that time with your family. Maybe they have some type of flex time or something.
Yeah, I think there's a question here. So for all the students who have PhD, so what are your expectations actually after graduate?
Just tell them it's been your lifelong goal to live in Boise.
I won't make any more money. I will not make any more money. I will not change positions. Nothing will change other than I have a piece of paper. I'll have the exact same job. Not until I move somewhere else, until I do something else. It's my ticket. It's my key.
So and then what's the drive for you to get to the PhD degree?
I'm doing it. I already do PhD level work. Might as well have a piece of paper. Nothing's changing. I'm doing the same work. I'm doing the same research. I'm at the same level. The difference is I'm going through
you like the challenge?
Going through requirements to get the paper.
Yeah, this is kind of like a challenge. The process is not the outcome. So you like the process itself.
Say that.
What about some of the rest of you?
Retiring.
What?
Many grades.
So what?
But yeah, this is one kind of motivation, right? Yeah. So prepare himself when they reach to the retirement and then to teach. And that's good reason for that. How about Carol?
Research and teach. Okay. So most of you have a
master's.
Yeah, master is also is after a master. What do you want to do?
A PhD.
That's okay. Great, Carol. You are. Everybody do that. Okay, so we had a meeting yesterday and talking about the PhD recruitment. So I really need to kind of try to put this type of effort for the department, and I think it's everybody is going to be the good the person or to advertise our program here. So let's get to all the students in, right?
You get 1,000 for every student that you bring.
Huh? How much?
You get 1,000 for every student that you bring.
What's the incentive we get?
Yeah.
for district?
So that's one of the question here is because we are talking about because I write a proposal to the
You can't make
graduate
a
school.
requirement.
Yeah, to the graduate school and trying to apply for more money, and so that they can to get compensate the competitiveness of our program in terms of financial support. So that's what we are trying to address that issue too. So.
Okay.
So we're thinking about that.
So most of you have a higher calling. If I can help you in any way with that, whether in your current jobs or future jobs, by all means, let me know. That's what we're here for, to help you and guide you with career plans, to bring employers to you.
What is a possible potential employers for these PhDs?
Everything from governmental research, such as some of your labs, whether they're at Wright Pat, Sandia, what's one in Tennessee? Man, I can't. Oak Ridge National Laboratory. A lot of your, governmental type, labs.
So they have some kind of connection with us, or
Yes,
they
they do.
trying to recruit people.
Yes, they do.
PhD.
Yes. Okay.
That's very important information for you guys too.
Well, they're very, Oak Ridge has actually brought us in just to actually see, although I've been to some other labs before, just to see this past year what they had available. And I can tell you they have some very good programs, some research facilities that are excellent. And, from what I can tell, most of the people that go there are very, happy to see that. And what a lot of companies are doing now, it's kind of like it's on two street levels. That try before you buy. You're trying them, they're trying you. Hopefully you merge somewhere in between. Because most of them are willing to.
But do you have any kind of potential employer for in the company, okay, in the industry for these PhDs?
Mm-hmm. Especially companies like your big companies like Raytheon. That's one that I know off the top of my head.
So, as a part of a university, are we kind of have a strategic plan, trying to kind of really push out our graduates to a better job, so that and then that's actually setting us right. If everybody graduate the program, they can get a very good job, and that itself is going to really sell our program here, right?
Because what we've done is we've increased the number of employers. I mean, I'm going to be real honest with you. Employees come to this university for a couple of reasons. One being the diversity that we have here. They want, and I'm talking about not only diversity as far as race, color, the whole 9 yards, I'm talking about diversity in thought also. They want that. They're thirsty for it in the workplace. You provide that. So they're looking for that. The number of, and just to give you an example, we've probably added 30 more employers, like for the STEM career fair that's coming, all majors and STEM career fair, than we had last year. We've had to move it from the HEB center over to the Convocation Center now because the number of employers, and we're seeking them out and they're seeking us out. So it's, it's a partnership. I don't know how many of you came in on the information session that, Coke had here the other night. That's another example of a company which is made up of many different companies that's looking for people like you, PhD.
Okay, I think the time is up.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the dialogue. It's been interesting. Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
that I
Thank you
know
for
the
having
students
me.
are pretty tough. And probably next time, it's just kind of a little bit, get this kind of input, whatever. So this is probably for the students who have a job already, so they don't really care about some kind of career. So that's how I see from their response. And but I think it's probably we need to kind of address some kind of needs later on. I'm sorry that it's a little too tough.
Oh, no. I'm used to it.
Okay.
Class like this, that's no problem to me.
Yeah, that's okay. So the thing is this. Yeah,
Oh, no, I
probably.
had a question.
Yeah, maybe you need to talk to later on.
Sometimes in their company need some people they have some green card or something they can stay in US for a long time.
So is
if
it-
we didn't have their green card or something like that card, maybe the company don't like hire us because
The
they
international
see
student.
you
Right.
yeah
I know
you
what
you
you're
can't stay in US for a long time. So maybe sometimes you feel we go home, so they don't like to hire people, hire students like that. Yeah. Also, a lot of companies didn't issue their H-1B for international students if they hire them. So what we can use is the OBT.
What I recommend is, once I think it's Department of Labor, they put out a list every year of companies that hire international students or.
Do you have the list?
Yeah. I have a list of them.
At least you have the list and to start with.
Yeah, I mean, I've got where it goes back several years, and you can kind of see because it's not always the same companies; it's different companies. So you can kind of see, okay, which companies are targeting, international students or international graduates. So come by and see.
All right. Thank you.
You have a card?
Yes.
Yeah, just have a card.
Oh, you know what? I think it's
You
in-
forgot?
Let me see. I may not. Let me look here real quick. If I don't, I know I have something here.
Do you have office hours today? Or like
Yes.
resume?
Today I'm completely booked today. Matter of fact, I'm completely booked. Walk-ins?
Yeah, that's
Not-
like last week or something.
Yeah,
They said-
walk-ins normally on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yeah, I looked and every time I go, I don't see you, so I called over there and they said you're really busy, you're in meetings.
Yeah.
I just want to walk
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a need to talk to get some kind of start. Now you need to start.
in. I have a resume. I just needed to look over.
Polish it up, and then find more information about the good place you want to go. Yeah, you need to plan right now. So I think it's a.
Where is your office?
Over in the engineering building, third floor. You like when you're walking down this way going to mechanical engineering, just take that left and right down the hallway there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
So that's a perfect fit. So then I started putting my resume together. So you said Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays correction. Tuesdays in this building right here, Wednesdays over at the Career Center. Normally from 1 to 4.